What's up, guys? Welcome back. This is Fenyks-Gaming here. Welcome to another episode of Raid Shadow Legends. Today I wanted to show you a quick overview of my Bannerlords Faction Wars 21 team that I recently finished, and the surprise champion that helped me do it. Let's just dive right into it. We'll take a look at the champions that helped me get there and explain their role in the entire ordeal. So let's start with our damage, and let's sort by faction so we can just stay in that area. Bannerlords conveniently shows up first. Start with our damage. We have Septimus built out, 6-star 60. All his gear is max except for his ring. He has pretty good stats. I did build him for Hydra. Not the best in the world, but they're decent. I could improve on them by giving him some, ignore defense gear. But let's take a look at the total numbers. 24k HP. He is very squishy. And that was designed for Hydra so that he would die periodically and wipe the mark of the Hydra from him. But that's a non-factor in Faction Wars 21, especially since we have several support champions. Actually, the rest of the champions in the team are there to support him. Almost 5k attack. He hits. He slaps. 230% crit damage, 95% crit rate. I know it's not capped, but it's good enough for government work. 210 speed, so he's definitely going frequently enough. Defense super low, but those aren't the numbers we're looking for. Almost no accuracy, and that's just because he doesn't bring anything, right?
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way.
This is just a result of having the wrong subs on there and the Great Hall bonuses that he's receiving. Definitely not for Faction Guardians. I don't have any Faction Guardians for Bannerlords. Next up, Sigmund the High Shield. Now, remember when this fusion came out, people were giving it a little bit of crap. It wasn't that great of a fusion. I think this champ is excellent, right? I think he's a good alternative to Brogni. I know he doesn't have that passive, but he has several other things, and he doesn't have block buffs, or block debuffs, but he does bring quite a bit of defensive stratagem to the playing field. He brings a shield and a strengthen. He brings a provoke on a 3-turn cooldown. The provoke lasts for 1 turn. It is 75% chance of placing provoke, and then 100% chance of placing decreased attack. So this is helping Septimus stay alive. And then his A1 removes buffs. Pretty high chance to remove buffs. Not super great, but I mean, like, that's stellar for an A1. Let's look at his stats. He does move. He's got 243 speed, 55,000 HP. I did make sure to put him in an immortal set so he could kind of have some sustain. Accuracy is high. At least high enough for Faction Wars, right? Maybe not high enough for the later Doom Tower stages on hard, but he's getting the job done for right now. Obviously no attack. He's a death-based champion. I did put some HP on him, just circling back to that, because his shield scales off of his HP. Defense almost 4k. Not super high. I mean, I wish I could be into the mid 4s, but for that, for this, we'll deal. Not crit capped, so crit damage is not, a factor here. 272 accuracy and 200 resistance. So not a bad setup for Sigmund. Then we have Ursula the Mourner. Everybody knows Ursula the Mourner. She is so good. Probably one of the best epics in the game.
Thank you. You are too kind.
And that comes from her AoE revive, that also acts as just a basically toughness buff, right? So you get increased defense and strengthen. This greatly mitigates the damage coming in. Paired that with her A2, which is a decreased attack on the enemies and increased attack on allies. Like, this is a stellar kit. I need to book her because she's super good and probably can be used in a lot of other places. But right now she's doing the job. And then she brings a 40% chance unbooked to decrease the target's turn meter by 10%. That's useful for the boss. There's just no arguing that. A champion that everyone should have if they've been doing any Doom Tower is Archmage Helmet. This guy is a rock star in keeping the team moving and doing tons of damage, and he brings a stun. So here's how that works. First ability, he's got the 30% increased speed, 30% increased crit rate, and 30% increased crit damage buff on all allies. So if he's fast enough, you actually don't need to build 100% crit rate on your entire team. I could have probably taken some crit rate away from Septimus, But, you know, he's not always going to be paired with Archmage Helmet and all the content that I'm bringing him in, particularly like things like Dragon. Time Slip. If he crits on this, so the first attack is a single target. Then if he crits, he attacks all targets and has a chance to place a stun. Okay, this is booked out, so it is, I think, so we got 75% chance to place that stun, which is great. And then his A1 fills this turn meter by 20% if the attack is critical. Now, the issue with the build that I currently have him in is that he doesn't have enough accuracy. And that's because he's not 6-starred and doesn't have that accuracy banner. This would have been a lot easier if I did have that accuracy, but we don't, but we still managed. Okay, so we went through Sigmund, we went through Septimus, we went through Ursula, we went through Archmage. You would kind of think that I'd bring a little more damage with Knight Errant, and he used to be my damage dealer prior to me getting and building Septimus, but the surprise champion that I'm bringing is Valerie, this rare that's available to everyone. I did build mine because I was kind of dabbling around with an Infinity team and using her as a buff extension, but it was really lackluster, and as it turns out, my regular clan boss team was doing the trick better. So let's take a look at her skills. She's kind of Godseeker-ish with her A2, where she increases the duration of all buffs on allies and decreases the duration of all buffs on enemies. But then she also brings an increased attack, which is nice. Her A3, she had, and that's on a 3-turn cooldown when booked, and she's super easy to book, obviously, because it's a rare champion that you can actually farm from campaign. She's not something you have to wait to pull, so you can just book her with copies of herself if you don't have the rare books laying around. Okay, so her A3 places a shield and then heals everyone proportional to the number of buffs on everyone. So that's definitely clutch in keeping everybody alive. And then her A1 is just a basic, single target attack, doesn't do anything special. In fact, if you don't want to book her A1 and you're able to book the other two abilities, definitely recommend just leaving it alone. Alright, so that is the team. That's the build out. I don't think there was any special gear. I think I have her in Immortal. Yeah, and she's pretty speedy. She could be better. She could be a lot better. Yeah, most everybody who's not doing damage is in Immortal on this team, except for Valerie, but she has enough sustain in her kit. So, alright, let's go ahead and just get into the run. This was a recorded run. And again, that's the team. Faction Wars 21 boss. And this was, so this iteration of the fight, I did not do full auto, but this is, I tried it afterwards, this is a full auto team. It starts off full auto, this first wave or round 1. Really, there's nothing to worry about here. I mean, if you wanted to focus target, you could focus on Broadmaw because he's doing the rezzing. But other than that, it's just, there's really nothing to worry about here. It's not like you have Valkyries or Martyrs setting up counterattacks and provokes and shields or anything. It's really simple. Bannerlords has a pretty easy go of Faction Wars when it comes to the waves. And as you can see here, guys, there's not a lot of damage coming out of this team. Septimus is the only real damage dealer, but there's a lot of control. There's a lot of, light CC and some hard CC coming out of Sigmund the High Shield, and some hard CC coming out of Archmage if he lands a stun, but I think that's a really low % chance because his accuracy just isn't up to snuff. But despite the fact that there's low damage, they're moving along nicely. I didn't bother focus targeting. I think I actually left the room during this part of the run just to see what it would do. So actually at this point, you see I took it off full auto. I do want to make sure their cooldowns are fresh going into the next round, just because I don't want to have to wait for the whole team synergy and the enemy to set themselves up prior to the team synergy. Now, generally speaking, if I am autoing this room, I will focus target Maneater because we don't need any more unkillable buffs extending the run unnecessarily. But I don't think I full autoed this stage. I think I just manualed my way through it. I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to actually complete this run. This is my first try with Valerie. So yeah, this was a test run for sure. Again, not doing a whole lot of damage, especially since my damage dealer is off affinity here. This part of the run was very slow, but I did switch to auto. My thinking was, now that the healer and the unkillable that was brought to this team were down, I could full auto until I was getting close to a point where I had to make sure my cooldowns were reset going into the next round. So at this point, I took it off auto so that I could, make sure I had the abilities that I needed off cooldown going into the boss fight. Alright, so here we are at the boss room. I think, okay, so I mentioned earlier that the Bannerlords had an easy go of the waves leading up to the boss, but I think this is one of the harder bosses. Now, she doesn't heal, she doesn't, or he, whatever, it doesn't heal or steal buffs, but it does revive those minions that it has there. And I don't have a lot of damage coming out of this team, as I mentioned earlier, so the overall strategy here was to just keep the ads CC'd, controlled, while I focus fire on the boss, because I just didn't have enough damage to get them down and keep them down. The whole purpose here was just keep Septimus alive, and stop the ads from doing whatever they wanted. Stuns when possible, provokes up all the time, and that was pretty much it. Now, Valerie played a key role here because Ursula and Archmage are not level 60, right? They're not 6-star. In the future, of course, I will be 6-starring them, but they're just not high on my priority list right now to do that. So I've actually been building champs for Hydra. So Valerie's heal and additional shield, and the extension of the buff so that they could go more frequently, really played a crucial role here in keeping everyone alive. Septimus probably isn't crucial here. That other champ that I had built out for my Bannerlords, Knight Errant, probably would have done the job in clearing this content, just because Knight Errant does bring a lot of damage. He has really high multipliers. His ability reset probably wouldn't be all that great here, but he does have built-in ignore defense so long as he's critting and it's not a weak hit. So that's definitely a viable option. This could be an all epic team even. We could probably find an alternative for Sigmund the High Shield, but I did have him available because I did that fusion, so I figured why not. One thing to note here is you can see that despite how low the HP is that Septimus has, he's not going down often, except for that first little turn when we enter the boss fight. As long as his buffs are up, he's not taking a whole lot of damage. In fact, Sigmund is taking the bulk of the damage here, and that's because he keeps those provokes up almost full time. Despite the fact that Archmage has low accuracy, he was actually able to land a stun there, which is great because the Zargala seems to do her AoE regardless of whether or not she's provoked. If I'm not mistaken, that's the case, and she's a big contribution to the amount of damage that comes out here. And Sigmund was pretty low on health anyway, so it was nice to give him a little break and a chance to maybe heal up a bit. Yeah guys, if you like this video, please do me a favor and give it a thumbs up. That really helps the YouTube algorithm know that I'm producing content that you enjoy. Also guys, give me a subscribe, helps the channel out, completely free to you, and I do produce these videos regularly now. I started just a month ago. First week was kind of slow, but I am producing 4, 5, sometimes 6 videos a week now for you guys to enjoy some raid content. We do also do shard pulls during special events, as well as Hydra build outs. So leave the channel a like and subscribe so you know when we post those videos. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Y'all take it easy.